Thomas.
You're listening to Meadows and Makers podcast
with Jack Dub and making stuff. Peace.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week of the Meadows and Makers podcast, brought to you here on MSP Waves. This week, I have got a pre-recorded show for you guys. I hope everybody had a happy holiday and everybody got to overeat and enjoy the season. So, anyway, well, if you're out there hanging out for the show today, I will need to do a couple of things up front here before we get started. And one of those is to say this show has a disclaimer. And the disclaimer is the views and opinions that are expressed on this program and this show, the Meadows and Makers podcast, are my own and those of my guests. And they do not reflect on MSP Waves or any of the wonderful people that run this live interactive social media broadcasting network here. Kind of centered around the Steam It blockchain and or Steam blockchain, however you want to say it. And so there you go. There's my disclaimer. And also the motto for this show, my name is Greg Dowd, if you didn't know me by now, also known as Making Stuff on Steam It. And so the motto and the kind of the theme for this show is self-reliance and trying to better yourself and become more self-reliant in these modern times, and using modern day technologies and try to get on guests and people that are kind of in that similar alignment. So there we go. And today I will be playing you a recording that I did with Solo Miner and his buddy Ryu Lincoln that recently spent some time over on my property, and they camped out over there, and it was kind of like a little test for starting to host some people on my property. So we'll get into that today, and then I'll be hanging out in the audience to kind of sit there and chat with you guys. So that's what we're going to do. So without further ado, I will play you guys the recorded episode here. So I'll be chilling, and chilling and chatting. All right, here we go. Well, welcome to another episode of the Meadows and Makers podcast, right here on MSP Waves. And this week we're having a returning guest, a brand new guest is joining in. It was kind of a dual interview here, but they're sitting down. They recently came out to my property down over here in Alabama, and were some of my first guests there at the property I was able to host. And so we're going to have a little chat today about what their experience was coming out, and then we'll just get to know them a little better. So one is a guy you guys already know, is Solo Miner, and then he's joined by his friend Ryu Lincoln. And so how are you guys doing today?
We're doing good, making stuff. Glad to be back on the show with you since we've visited last.
Yeah, man, doing pretty good, and thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for taking your time out today to come and join me and have this conversation. So yeah, everybody in the audience is familiar with Solo Miner. He's been a return guest of mine for quite a while here. But Ryu Lincoln, if you'd like to maybe take a moment and maybe give people a little bit of an introduction about who you are and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure, man. As you know, like I'm on, I guess, Steam now. It's called. It's not called Steam It anymore.
Yeah, it's called Steam.
Yeah, I keep getting corrected.
Yeah.
I guess my page is just more basically revolved around my martial arts and things I teach at the school. I haven't posted in a little bit because I don't have access to a computer, and my last cell phone was cracked and couldn't really take videos or pictures or anything like that. But I'm actually looking to start posting up a lot more material. I'm actually going to start posting things like hunting and tracking as well. Just basic beginner stuff that people usually run into when they're trying to get into martial arts, when they're trying to get into other activities. And a lot of times they're not, these issues aren't brought up. It's like what happens when I go to a martial arts class and I'm out of breath and can't really keep up and stuff like that. It's things that people run into that need to be addressed as well. And it's just actually taking them through the very, very first beginning steps, like even knowing where to look to take your hunter's test, and knowing where to go, or just knowing that you can go into your backyard to start looking for tracks instead of having to spend weekends walking out to the middle of the nowhere wilderness in order to just to look at birds tweet that you could see in your backyard.
Okay, cool. So you're going to be bringing more stuff onto your blog on Steam?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Awesome. So
Hopefully if Partaco gets better, we can get him back on Partaco, which makes posting on mobile easy. But last I checked, Partaco isn't really updating right now.
Well, I still use Partico, and I'm still posting. Well, I kind of stepped away from posting for a little while here, but been keeping up with the podcast. But yeah, I still will use Partico. I haven't had any issues. The last thing I had to do is I think I had to sign back in or something like that using maybe Steam Connect or something like that.
Oh, I'll give that a try because it's just dropped off on any new mentions, comments, and you can't use your points right now. And I've noticed on the posts on Partaco on their Steam page that a lot of other people can't cash out as well right now. So last I checked, they're kind of frozen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can still post through them and upvote, but you're not going to get notifications anymore. Or at last I checked, I wasn't getting any for the last few weeks.
Okay. So
yeah, but we'll get him going. Either on a laptop where he can just use Steam Peak, or hopefully there'll be some new kind of platform by then for Android or iOS.
Yeah, well, Yeah, all those skills that you're talking about there, Ryu, is something that like I think a lot of people could use in the modern day, and you know, self defense and survivalist skills are like something that everybody should have in their arsenal, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. Especially because a lot of people are starting to do a lot more outdoor activities, and it's become a little bit more mainstream. I see a lot of like real big mistakes and stuff like that being made by people who claim to be doing this for years. So and again, it's because no one sat with them. They're just like, that's just kind of one of the basics that you don't do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, Solo said you were kind of the guy that got him inspired to go out and do some camping and get out in the woods and kind of do that stuff, and so that kind of got you guys, I think, to come out to go camping on my property recently, and that was the weather didn't turn out so well for you guys while you were here, but it ended up nobody died. So.
No, we had no close calls. Everything was very well prepared for it, and we appreciated you letting us use your camper when it got real bad out on that last night. That got really rough.
Yeah, that was actually some of the worst weather I've ever had.
Wow.
Being there, so
It knew we were coming and said, "We hope you're ready, Georgia boys."
Welcome to Alabama.
Yeah, so there was some very very interesting weather that we had during that time. So
Yeah, I've never camped through a dusting, so that was my first real snow camping experience.
yeah, I mean, you guys both earned the Polar Bear Merit Badge for that one.
Yay, nice.
And that was the first time I've had tents leak or not withstand the water for a while. That was interesting, waking up in a puddle.
Oh yeah, man.
I like it.
Didn't turn out too good.
I like in the video where I asked you, "Didn't you want to swim in your tent? Wasn't that the point?" And he was just like, "No, stay dry. That's the goal."
Yeah, I saw those videos you posted up, and those look really good. And you did that a lot of that footage was just off that what do you call it, the SJ cam?
Yep, the SJ cam is just a little generic GoPro you can buy for like $50 to $100 online. Used is like $50, $100, or $120, I think, for a brand new SJ cam. But I like them because they're just as good as the GoPro. And if you're really worried about it, you can actually buy a GoPro lens and unscrew the crappy SJ cam one and then put on like the nice glass GoPro lens. Like you can buy them secondhand. And then the camera is just as good as a GoPro. You just don't get a warranty like a GoPro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you can modify them and get an even better picture if you're not happy with the crappy little filter or lens that comes on the SJ cam. But yeah, I'm happy with the videos. They turned out really great for as rainy and wet as it is. You can see in part 2 on my little thumbnail, there's actually a water spot right there. Lovely Logic thought it was the dog's tail wagging, but that's actually just a water spot that dripped on the camera lens. My camera's wet and probably half the video.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it didn't quite raining on us, but yeah. Yeah, so both of you guys are really Ryan, you've been a hunter for a while?
Yeah, I I actually I started hunting when I was 16.
Oh wow.
A little younger than that. Yeah, I went along with the Boy Scouts, and a lot of my friends' dads would take me out hunting and stuff like that whenever they went. And I did a lot of hunting on my own. It was for a while it was more poaching than anything.
Yeah.
But I still follow the rules, minus the requirement of getting your license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you on that one, man. Like, I mean, if you're starving, man, like, man, you gotta eat. So,
yeah. And it's walking through your yard too, like.
Yeah, and you know what? There was a recent local news story about all these squirrels. Like, there's like so mmany power outages per year in the city from squirrels.
God.
And it's like, well, if there's people being able to take out them squirrels, maybe we wouldn't have so much of a problem with.
Oh, squirrels and rats and mice are the biggest problem for people working with data cables. I swear.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, they'll chew right through them, and if they're power cables, sometimes they'll get fried at the same time.
And a lot of times when
Yeah.
the squirrels, a lot of times when the squirrels damage stuff, it's not because they're chewing the cables that are hung up on the poles. It's because they're digging them up. Yeah, man, squirrels dig and bury everything that's dear to them. Well, except for like their kids or whatever, but they're like dogs. So like, man, squirrels, they bury everything, so they'll dig up your yard. And if you have a pet squirrel or allow squirrels into your home, they'll pull your carpet right up like it's nothing, man. Like they're
Oh,
diggers
really?
like moles. Yeah,
Well, they're also pretty good eating, man.
yeah.
Recently we had me and my coworker. We we went to this guy's house. We picked up a bunch of rabbit. He raised rabbits, and he was getting rid of a bunch of them that he had, and then he threw in a couple squirrels too that he butchered. But yeah,
Was he raising them for meat?
yeah, he was raising a bunch of rabbits for meat, and my buddy linked up with him through the Dog Days flea market up there in Ardmore, and he's just moving, so he's getting, he butchered a bunch of his rabbits so that he could sell them, and he's moving to two different spots, so he's got to start over again. So he's just butchered a bunch of his rabbits. So yeah, and then he also butchers like some wild game and stuff. So he was gonna throw in a raccoon and a possum or something like that. We were like, we'll just stick with the rabbits and with the squirrels, I guess.
I've actually never eaten a possum. There are a few animals that I don't shoot simply because if I don't eat it, I won't kill it.
Yeah.
So man, a possum, it's just
Yeah.
like that's a trash compost for nature, man.
Yeah.
Making stuff. You ever been to a wild game dinner in your local town where hunters come from all around and serve their wild caught meals?
No, I haven't been to one of those yet. I need
I've been-
to get linked up with the people that do that.
Oh well, we got, when was it? We looked it up in the early spring. There's
Yeah.
one in like Sharon, Georgia, which would be quite the trek for you making stuff. But me and Ryu Lincoln, we're thinking about going to a wild game dinner and like trying like a whole bunch of different kinds of meats and wild edibles.
Nice. Wow, that
Yeah.
sounds interesting.
It's once a year, and it's by this old hunting spot that I used to have a lease on, and they have a community center in the area, and everyone from that around town in the area called Sharon, Georgia, which has a population of about probably 500, 200 people,
Yeah.
and they all come around and they have like a feast where they all try out like what they all make out of the local wildlife, I would guess.
Nice. Yeah, there's that part of Georgia in the Appalachian Mountains and all that is quite a bit different culture than the rest of the U.S. Actually, you still find a lot of people that do live off the land and everything like that over there.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Seems.
catch up. My tech skill was up to par, but I'd say getting on to my cooking and camping and hunting skills, I got to catch up.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just kind of a function of our society nowadays. I mean, I didn't get into hunting until, it was probably about 4 years ago for me, really, and maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I went on my first hunting trip, and it's just like, it's people that grow up in the city and you're used to going to the supermarket and having all that available to you. You're really not learning these skills anymore. So
Yeah, we don't want to lose them, but I think just getting them on the internet's not enough. You have to know how to actually do it and not just have videos out there on how to do it.
oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, a YouTube video can help you figure out, or videos can help you figure out how to, butcher an animal or whatever after you take it down. But actually having the skill to, use a rifle or use a bow, those are skills that you have to go out and practice and hone. Yeah.
Exactly. Unless you can play really good games on Xbox, then you can practice your shooting skills too. But I guess that's more if you're going to become a drone pilot or something. Then those skills are really useful in that sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yeah. Speaking of drones, it's there's so much you can do with one of those things now. It's there's all these different services and stuff that you can get out there and do with one of those guys. So actually, if you're out there and you really like flying those things, then it's actually a lot of opportunities for starting a service or a business with drones now. So
Do you think that they'll ever start like having like countries will start having like battles with each other with drones? I know we do have drones. Like we have the Reaper drones that bomb the shit out of anything. But like, do you think we'll have like those like small drones the way that we think, like little kids' toys, and have them fight each other instead of using people?
yeah, like war is replaced with robots instead of people.
Yeah.
Well, uh, it kind of seems like we're trying to corner the market on the technology or whatever in the U.S. and trying to be like the superior technology, but I it would be better to fight with robots, but I would like to just like not have war at all. Like why do we why do we need to have these wars? Most of these wars are pretty much just fought with these elite politicians sending off people to go fight in battles that they would never fight in. So, in my
Or we could
opinion,
build
let's
mecha suits.
yeah.
Like in Gundam Wing, fight each other like that.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, you should send off all these politicians that want to fight people all the time and give them a rifle and say, get at her, pitter patter, get at her.
Or like bare knuckle fighting, like, and you can definitely like raise funds too, man. Like, imagine how many people would have paid to watch, I don't know, like George Bush bare knuckle fight Osama bin Laden.
Hell yeah.
give them each like half a year to get ready, and like that is
Well,
that's great. That's
well,
them fighting it out.
well, yeah, that's how they used to settle it way back in the days. Like, didn't they like send out like somebody that was their champion or something like that, and they fought each other, and that's how they kind of tried to settle some things. Well, that's kind of like I think like if these people want to send people to go kill each other, like they need to go grab the sword and get sent off to somewhere.
Someone who wants to do it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like nobody really wants to kill other people, So it's just like, send these guys that want to send other people off to war. Send those guys instead. So
We're pulling up the map right now of where you live, just looking at your property again. We just appreciate your river system nearby so much. We really missed out that we couldn't walk down there, but that weather was really going to put a hurting on us if we ended up going down there.
yeah, there's that's Smith Lake that's right by me, and yeah, it's a dammed up river system that runs out of the Sipsey Wilderness area, which is to the north up there, and that's probably one of the cleanest lakes in the country because all that water isn't coming from populated areas. It's an unpopulated wilderness area that all that water is being fed from. So,
And you can hunt on all the land running across the lake, right? As long as it's not someone's property, that's your land to hunt on, as it's part of the water, the waterway.
well, I mean the locals, have done that.
Is you can duck hunt from kayak and canoe along the banks, as long as it's not like someone's house is right there. If it's an empty lot like along the banks, my understanding is you can duck hunt and hunt other animals on that body of water. if you have a permit for it.
Yeah, I believe. Just talking to some of the locals, that there have been people that have done that. So, yeah, yeah,
It looks like going up north would be better. It looks like when you go down south on that lake, it just gets really populated of boat ramps. But it looks like it gets really narrow up north, and it probably gets like some really good canoeing and kayaking territory up there.
But one thing I did
yeah,
notice is that man, like all the docks and areas on this river, like they're not there was maybe like one or two public access points, but everywhere else is were private docks. Like in
yeah,
Atlanta, if you drive, or in Georgia, if you drive past the river and stuff like that, man, it's like you can drive off the side of the road like every quarter mile and park and just walk down to the river. But I
yeah.
actually like how there's not as much public access, man. It's not a bunch of parties, just or a bunch of places where you can pull over, drink a beer, and throw your trash on the side. Like the area was much more clean than in Georgia. I think that had to do a real big thing too, because if the area by the river is your property or your house, you're not going to mess it up. So
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. That lake is unique in that if you're gonna actually get access in there, you have to, since it's such a steep canyon kind of thing going into it, and that's how the lake was formed. Is it was a canyon they dammed up, and so you'd actually have to put some money into building a ramp or something to get into it. And so yeah, so most of the access is private access. So
But once
um,
you get on it, you're golden. It looks like
yeah,
once you get on, as long as you got the paddle strength going upriver on that Sipsey River, it looks really promising. Looks like it'd be full of wildlife.
well, yeah, the Sipsey Wilderness area and Bankhead and all that. Bankhead people, um, all and the Sipsey. Well, I don't know if you can hunt in the Sipsey. Maybe you can. Yeah, you should be able to hunt in the Sipsey Wilderness area. Yeah, hunters go in there in the Sipsey Wilderness area and hunt all the time.
Yeah,
Uh,
going by a kayak and canoe is best as you make so little noise, and we all the time catch wildlife off guard by coming in there silent on those boats. Works real
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. Um, So yeah, there's lots of opportunities out there for hunting and fishing and all that kind of stuff. It's that's why I like the property a lot, and yeah, maybe I can buy that property that's just right behind me that hunting club owns at one point in time, but we'll see.
Over time, you'll get there. But
Yeah,
it looks like if we just walk down the embankment, you can walk right down to the water. If we can bushwhack for about half a mile, it looks like it's doable, but it's just going to be hard walking getting down there.
yeah, yeah,
We'll see when we really do it. I was looking forward to it when we were there, but it was just the weather was way too rough and we were so wet. Trying to go out anywhere was just kind of going to ruin our clothes at that point.
yeah. The only thing that is a little bit concerning is that when they are hunting back there, just wear some
yeah,
good
Blaze Orange.
blaze, yeah, to
Right.
make yourself visible. So
Yep. Good points. Yep. But it looks like some beautiful land. We're looking forward to returning, making stuff. So you let us know when you want to do that educational video and have me record it for y'all.
yeah, I talked to my buddy Robbie Olson about that recently, and yeah, we want to do a whole online course about this, and then we want to host this physical workshop, and so we're just kind of getting geared up. I've got some improvements I need to do on the property before I actually host. We're talking 5 to 10 people, and I'm thinking of maybe just renting like a porta john or something like that for when we actually host those people, and actually renting it for like a week or something like that. And then
Or you
maybe
could build one.
yeah,
Maybe your next project.
Oh
yeah,
boy.
yeah. Actually, getting a little septic system set up, and something basic as an entire bathhouse kind of thing where you can wash up and you can get warm and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that was something that we could have used quite a bit while you guys were there. So
Oh,
Oh
it's
man,
okay.
but
We
your
were good.
bucket's real comfortable, man. That noodle.
Yeah, that was great. I'll tell you what. As long as we had cover over our head, I was doing good because that enclosure kept me protected while it was raining.
Yeah.
And doing my business while not getting rained on is a nice luxury.
yeah, that was something that normally I would just go under that the little tornado shelter that was back in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's quite the setup there. Like I said, looking forward to what you do with it over time. I wish I had a time machine and I could see what you got done in about 10 years from now. As I'm guaranteeing you it's going to be totally changed in 10 years if you keep up at it.
Yeah, it will. And I have an overall vision for the property, and it's going to take quite a bit of time, and some equipment, and some projects and things like that. But I'd like to really transform it into something really cool. So that's the vision. But
Nice. Well, maybe when you're getting ready to do your awning, if the weather's looking good, we can plan on taking another camping trip.
Yeah, man. I definitely like to come back and help you build out a bunch of stuff, man. That was like even the little things that we did up, man. Like getting the tarp over your camper. That was that, man. Just being productive feels good. Like it'd be great if we could help you out, man.
Yeah. You guys are welcome back anytime, especially if you want to work.
It's all good. Once I got my property, I'm sure you'll return the favor making stuff. It's all about helping out each other, and then when someone else got some resources, then help them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and the skills and being able to share skills with each other is such a big thing. Like, so one of the things that I want to do on, and part of the vision is to actually start hosting the physical workshops there, and to have different people come in with different skill sets to be able to teach their workshops, and be able to teach these like Ryu has his hunting and tracking skills and his martial arts and stuff like that. So he could come in and teach his workshop and on the property, along with a bunch of other stuff that goes on during a weekend or something like that, and just make it a real community kind of of like-minded people that want to learn these skills. So
Yeah, and there's cell reception too, which is really great. I mean, you could build a little repeater where you live, and if people could have a cell signal out there, even if they don't have that one tower signal, you could repeat it into a really good little signal for your 5 acres.
yeah, I might have to talk to you about some of that stuff, because I'm not as tech savvy as you are.
Yeah,
So
we can build all that out. We can build a Yagi antenna pointing right to that cell tower, which will bring it from about 2 bars to 5 bars, and then you can just have a little Wi-Fi hotspot on your property. Anyone can connect to it.
yeah, that's what I was looking at as a solution. Actually, there's this one service by AT&T and the RV company. There's an RV company, Winegard, that makes this thing called the Togo, and it would be able to connect to AT&T full unlimited data service, and it's only like $30 a month or something like that. So
Wow, that's great.
So I'm looking into that as something to have on the property. That way, I'd have full. Anybody that wanted to access the internet or whatever, you'd be able to access the internet while you're there through that wireless link up. So yeah, I'm looking at that as a possible solution. But yeah, so one of the kind of topics that we were talking about while you guys came out and camped was I know we are kind of talking about how Ryu, you teach younger people a lot of skills with in the martial arts. You have a lot of younger people that come and train with you and stuff like that. And this question was posed in one of the groups that I'm involved with on Facebook. Is that the question was are kids more or less sensitive these days, and why do you think that's so? So I was gonna try to maybe see what your guys' perspective on that was.
Oh, they're so much more sensitive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like I don't know what it says about me or the kids, but it's like a normal daily occurrence to have like 2 or 3 kids cried in the class, and a lot of times they're just not in the mood to do something, and it's strange how some people will tell me they're like, oh, my kid's real tough, and then they'll trip and fall on a padded floor, and they'll cry and hold out their arms to me to come pick them up and to console them. Now, this isn't like a little 4-year-old. This is a 10-year-old kid doing this. I don't know if it's because I'm hard or cold or callous, but I'm just like, I just thought that that's kind of ridiculous. I'm just like, no, man, like, get up. Like, you're fine. Yeah. It's okay. Like, it sucks that you fell, but like, kids are sturdy. They're meant to survive falls and stuff like that and tumbles. If you pick him up and tell him that he needs to have his boo-boo kissed or she needs to have her boo-boo kissed every time, it doesn't make sense. Because, I think the problem is that we all just want to be safe and comfortable, and we're now taught that anything that makes you feel a little bit unsafe or a little bit uncomfortable, that it's wrong, that it's something bad, that it's something that you shouldn't have to do. And that's the reason why these days you see a lot of people just going out in the cold and throwing out the trash. They'll post about it on their social media, like, I don't know, like they fell asleep in their yard and a wolf came and ate their arm off, along the same lines. I tell people it's like a stubbed toe. Like when bad things happen and stuff, when you stub your toe, it literally feels like the worst thing in the world, man. It makes your brain explode, and there's that pain just from that little tiny appendage. But in a few minutes, like, it's gone. It's over, and you completely forget about it. And you're not sitting there paranoid about stubbing your toe. But for things that aren't everyday occurrences like that, like, if your kid is in a martial arts class and they throw a kick and it makes them slip and bust their ass, a lot of parents will want to rush out onto their floor and pick up their kid. I was like, your kid just fell. It's fine. Like, let them stand up and continue the class. Like, having that security blanket, I want to say it creates a false sense of security. Yeah. Thinking that you're always going to be safe, thinking that nothing could ever happen to you, thinking that there's always going to be a way to save yourself, to get out of something. Yeah. And like, that's just not the case a lot of times.
Yeah, that's right along the lines of what I kind of said in the group, was that like, it's just like this fear of pain and fear of ever letting somebody fail is one of the issues. I think is really, I think you really need to fail, and you really need to, experience, the repercussions for, your actions, and you need to learn from them and grow. And without that, then you have no growth, and you kind of just stay in the same state that you were previously. Yeah. So,
and then, and I'm not saying that, martial arts definitely isn't something for everybody. Self-defensive is, learning how to defend yourself against someone attacking you, but the actual art of standing your ground, fighting and exchanging punches and stuff like that, man, that's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It doesn't mean you're less. That doesn't mean you're weaker. Some people can't play a musical instrument. Some people can't draw. Some people can't cook. Some people can't drive. It's all give and take with different skills we have. And to say that this person is less or you are more because you have a certain skill or you have a natural knack for something is kind of ridiculous. And a lot of times when people say that martial arts isn't for them, it's because they didn't get it right away. because it's something that they have to work on. Just because you have to work hard on something, or because you're not getting it as fast, or you're not as awesome as certain people are, doesn't also, that also doesn't mean that it's not for you. I don't know if you ever watched cartoons, but there's a popular Japanese cartoon called Naruto, and
Yeah.
man, that cartoon, in the beginning, Naruto and Rock Lee, the most infuriating and embarrassing traits that they have. That's the way I was when I was a younger student. I was all like, "Yeah, I'm the best. I'm gonna be this. I'm awesome," and I was just like, I guess overly gung ho about everything, even though I wasn't really good. So, but I stayed with it. This martial arts wasn't, I'm a small little guy, and martial arts wasn't a very natural thing to happen to me, but it's something that I liked, and I stayed with it. If you're not a good drawer, but you like to draw, you should stay with it because it's something that you like. You're going to get better eventually.
Yeah.
And even if you don't, it doesn't matter because you're enjoying it. It's
Yeah.
It's one of those things where people feel like they have to get better. They have to be the best at what they're doing in order to enjoy it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying about the, you can't totally, if you're not, if you're not really getting it, then necessarily give up on it, but then you can't make yourself feel down that you're not, the martial arts champion there or whatever. And so yeah, so I don't know if what do you think? What do you think about this topic there, Solo Miner?
I think putting yourself in uncomfortable situations your whole entire life is really important, because humans have been exposed to pressure, and when there's not pressure, they tend to get sloppy. So I figured, why don't I always just be a little uncomfortable, either trying to learn something that I couldn't really get before and I could never really fully wrap my head around, or like doing martial arts. That's been a great way of trying to learn something that's really hard for me. And it's amazing when you look at it after doing it long term. If you just do it a few times a week for many weeks, over many months, over a few years, all of a sudden you've built something, and that's addictive. And I have been doing that most of my life now. Into my teens, I've just been trying to build my skills, and it's been working well. And it just kind of compels me to go further. But a lot of people don't have that. I think they kind of think once they're an adult or they get out of high school or college, they're done learning and now they just cruise through. And I think that's such the wrong mentality. You just, in your entire life, you have to continue to learn and problem solve and expose your brain to load, and always have a little load on your brain to keep it moving.
Yeah.
Just like your muscles too. Same with the muscles. Yeah, I keep moving.
Yeah, I saw a meme recently, and it was a sign that said, "Be brave enough to suck at something new."
Yeah. I used to be afraid of sucking, but I mean, if you look at anyone that's successful, like there's so many ways to do things wrong, but there's a few ways to do something right, and you'll learn it eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there was there's a really good book that I think some people should read. It was by, I believe, a Japanese samurai, and it's called The Book of Five Rings, and it's I think the guy's name was Miyamoto Miyasashi or something. And but in the book it talks about how you, at some point in your life, you need to focus on mastering something, and that old adage, it was it jack of all trades but master of none. I believe that's actually stated wrong. It's like it's supposed to be jack of all trades but master of one. So it's
Oh, huh.
so
Lost in translation at some point, maybe.
yeah. So it's it's one of those things where it's like just like you're saying, Ryu, is like if it's something that really resonates with you and you really enjoy it, then at some point in your life, it's like you have to decide to focus on becoming the master of one thing. And that's what Miyasashi was saying in his book, was that mastery leads to more focus and more peace internally as a person. It's a really great book for anybody that's into self-improvement and self-empowerment kind
cool.
of stuff. I would highly recommend.
Very nice.
But yeah. So yeah, I think that it's important for kids to get out there and just like we're talking about, to get out there and fail. And it's something that I've been through in my life is a long time. Is being scared of sucking. And so
get used to feeling uncomfortable. It shouldn't feel so foreign. It should feel like something that triggers you to make you want to do something to improve yourself.
Yeah. And get out there and take a leap and go on an adventure. Maybe there's something that you really like, you really want to pursue, but maybe you have to do it on your own, or, just don't be afraid to get out there and do it on your own and figure it out. Yeah.
All the time, when you have the right friends, pushing yourself to all new limits is a lot more doable, as you always have someone to fall back on if you trip up and fall and get hurt. So just having the right friends and company helps you to really better yourself, and being around greatness makes you greater. So it's like that saying, if you're around the right people, you usually become those people as well.
Yeah. You're most like the 5 people you hang around, or you're going to be most like the 5 people you hang around the most. Is something something that I've heard.
Yeah, but we're looking at the map again of around where you live, and that river system going up north, that's like 12 miles of plus, because I just drew a straight line. But like, I was just thinking, like, imagine if I rode up that. But I'm like, well, I've never done anything like that. That looks so scary. But if I did and I was successful, that would be such a cool accomplishment, just to go up a river 10 miles and all of what you would see. But most people, like, aren't you afraid of drowning? Aren't you afraid of getting wet? Aren't you afraid of like hurting yourself? And like, that's just part of the journey, honestly. And I think a lot of people miss out on that, and they give out before they have a chance to ever experience such a journey.
Yeah. Speaking of going on these journeys, like in northern Georgia, do you guys have a lot of places? I know you guys got a lot of places where you can go hike and camp and do all that. Do you guys have another trip planned where you're gonna go out and maybe experience some of the local area?
Duck hunting, right? Or
Yeah,
duck hunting's up
we
next.
actually plan on duck hunting this season.
Oh, cool! That's one I haven't tried yet.
I think we're about a month away from that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what we're planning on going is there's a place called the Rocky Mountain PFA, which stands for Public Fishing Area. And you can go out there and fish and hunt. So we're going to take his canoe and bring our 20-gauge semi-auto shotguns and see if we can sneak up on some ducks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, what's the trick of duck hunting? I know you got to either get out in the water somewhere and create a blind, or be on the shoreline and lay down or something like that. What's the secret of duck hunting?
I think we're going to ambush them. We're going to come around corners, but Ryu knows more about that.
You either want to go to where they already are, and a lot of times you can kind of tell. You can see from a distance. The problem with ducks is because they're short and small. You don't really see them till you're right on them. You don't want to be firing, down at your feet or anything like that. So what most people try to do is they try to attract ducks. So they'll sit there in an area with like a lot of cover and stuff like that, and that's where the decoys come around. They'll go and they'll plop them up in the water so it make it look like there are other ducks. They'll do the duck call, so when their other ducks are flying by, they'll see that there are other ducks there. They're like, "Oh, this is a good place to go." And you shoot them as they coming in.
So they kind of have the kind of the herd mentality as well.
Yeah, definitely. They flock together. Yeah,
and we can use decoys in the public fishing area.
Yes,
that's
you
great.
can. But you can't leave them there.
Oh yeah. But yeah, that's probably our next trip. I would love to get some wild duck meat. I've had farm raised duck, and it's such a delicious meat. Yeah. I can't wait to try some wild duck with all the variety of things they eat. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. That's one that I'd like to try in the future here. So so you're gonna stalk them. So how do you or you set up your little duck decoys, and then you kind of just
Wait, man.
you
It's
just
a lot
gotta
of
wait,
sitting, man. Yeah.
sit and wait.
People don't realize how much of hunting is just sitting there quiet,
Yeah,
trying not to cough.
yeah, for real. But when you do that, man, I'll tell you what, your senses really start to heighten because you'll start to pick up motion, and you'll start to pick up sounds from different areas and things like that. I really think it does help overall with your overall senses and being able to increase your vision and all kinds of things. I think it can really help.
That's so true, making stuff. When I've set out with Fry Lincoln out in the forest waiting for deer, even though I haven't really saw one, I've heard a lot. I've heard the antlers clashing together. We've heard like the cries from the does. We've heard stomping, really loud stomping that like squirrels couldn't make. It had to be something pretty big over the next ridge. But we have heard so many amazing sounds.
Yeah, yeah, and I had my uncle on not too long ago. He's an optometrist, and they actually do these exercises to help your peripheral vision. And I kind of talked to him about when you go hunting, and one of the problems that a lot of people have nowadays is they actually they have weak eyes, and they only have like a narrow band of their vision because of computers and cell phones and those things now. So they don't use their peripheral vision that much, and so it actually narrows the focus of their vision. And so he does exercises to actually get them to use their eye muscles more and to use their peripheral vision more. And I think you actually do that naturally if you go out hunting, because you have to scan a lot and actually use more of your peripheral.
Yeah, glassy in the woods, standing still and just staring at a single tree and let your peripheral vision go to work. I didn't know what that was till I saw my friend just staring off into the woods. I'm like, what are you looking at? He's like, nothing. That's the point. You're just kind of not moving your eyes and letting any movement pop out. But I've never known that term glassing until I worked with hunters.
Yeah. It's definitely an experience as well. I think there's a lot of, I kind of think that there's a lot of energy in nature. There's living things all around you. So you're constantly kind of getting that feedback from nature as well, just sitting out there on your own. And it can be quite peace bringing, in my opinion.
It sure can. I usually feel pretty recharged when I get back from the woods, but driving into the city can kind of tense me up sometimes before I get home. But otherwise, the trip is usually very refreshing.
Yep. So another thing that I've been kind of looking into recently is this whole concept of earthing. Are you guys familiar with that at all?
Yeah, so when I go out during the summer, I usually have like 2 days off in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So I leave work immediately and just drive out into the middle of nowhere. And then from there, I drive back to work. Like when I'm rescheduled, I usually live in nothing but shorts.
Yeah.
And no shoes or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So earthing, as I understand, is hiking barefoot.
Yeah. It's just getting skin contact with the ground. Yeah.
And I sleep on the bare ground too. So I guess I've been doing that for a while. I just had no idea. To me, it was just standing outside.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So you're talking about do you just go outside and you'll just get your skin in contact with the ground and take naps and stuff during the day or something like that?
Yeah. But I just did it out of habit, not because I thought it was good for me. It was just because it was hot. It's summer. I just needed a place to take a nap.
Yeah, a lot of times his shoes are
Wow.
so torn up, he's better off just walking barefoot. And many times on the trails, he'll just be barefoot, unless it's rocky or he has to get a really good foothold on climbing something. Well,
Yeah.
actually, when he climbs, he actually takes his shoes
Yeah.
off. If anything, he has better grip without his shoes. It's quite impressive.
Oh wow, yeah. Yeah, well, there's supposed to be a lot of good health benefits actually of walking barefoot, and it can actually correct a lot of foot problems if you have them. From what I've been learning, is if you actually just walk on uneven ground barefoot, because it strengthens the muscles, the various muscles in your feet, as opposed to wearing boots with all these support and shoes with all this different support. Your muscles weaken, and then that can in the future lead to everything's connected through the feet. So
Yeah.
so you have issues with other things, and can lead to other health problems. So have you ever had any back or neck issues or anything like that, right?
Um. Actually, no, I haven't. I actually the only problems I've ever had with any like back problems is I had a sciatica, but that's because I was sitting on my wallet in my back pocket.
Ah,
But yeah,
okay.
yeah. So that's a big no-no for guys. Apparently, uh, so the reason why guys have lower back problems is because the sciatic nerve, like where I guess like your ass like goes back into you at the bottom, like into your legs.
Yeah.
Your sciatic nerve runs like right behind there, and that's right where your wallet is. And so when you sit down, that basically pinches your nerve, and years and years of that, uh, like just really messes up your posture and messes up your back. A lot of times when people throw out their backs, it's not their actual back; it's the sciatic nerve, especially when men do it. So that's like a real big common mistake that guys make. You're not supposed to sit on your wallets.
Yeah.
Uh, and another and going with the girl version of it, a lot of girls have will have hip problems, like uneven hips,
Yeah.
and it's because when they cross their legs, they'll lean against their legs. So they'll prop an elbow against their knee, or they'll put both their hands on their knee and push down, and that actually stretches out like your hip socket. And so, if you're a lady listening to this, don't lean on your legs if you cross them. If you're a dude listening to this, don't sit on your wallet anymore. Because those are two real common physical problems that men and women have, and it's really simply solved.
Yeah, I've been watching this Dr. John Bergman and going through a lot of his videos. He's a chiropractor, and he's done a lot of his own independent health research, and a lot of pretty much the main things that cause all disease, from what he says, is it's physical, environmental, and emotional stressors. And so the environmental comes from the toxins and the processed foods and all that, and then your physical comes from your bones being physically unaligned and need to be put back into alignment. And then your emotional is your actual emotional stresses that you go through on a day-to-day basis, and all of these things lead to a weakened immune system. And really, health is just about maintaining good health is about maintaining the highest form of your own immune system, because the body can heal itself, and it's designed to heal itself.
You just have to give it the right conditions, and it will.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So yeah, I've been learning a lot about that kind of stuff recently, and yeah, I'm a believer in the natural medicines, and actually getting out there and growing your own food and doing a lot of that stuff. And I know one of the things that Solo came, and when he came, he gave me this this little bee house, this mason bee house.
Yeah.
And I know that you've been working on growing some of your own food, and you grew a bunch of sweet potatoes I saw in your post, and
Yep, and blueberries and raspberries, and I'm going to expand it to hopefully asparagus and some other plants too.
awesome. Yeah, so you were telling me that these mason bees, they can really help increase the production of fruit trees and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, especially when you have trees that fruit or flower really early in the season, like in January, February. A lot of times the honeybees aren't warmed up enough yet to really come out and do efficient pollination on those plants. So the mason bees and the leafcutter bees come out in late February, and a lot of times they'll do the pollination when the honeybees are just too cold to do that work. But the thing
Oh,
is, yeah, but the thing is, they only last for about a month. Mason bees are only going to do their thing for about a month, and then they're going to have laid their cocoons, and they're going to die, and then the whole process is going to start over the next year. Honeybees are basically across the whole warm season, and a little bit in the winter, but they're not as prevalent as they are in the summer. But mason bees are just really, really busy for about 1 to 2 months, and then the whole thing repeats again the whole next year.
okay. Okay. Cool.
Mason bees are workaholics too. Like a lot of times, when I come over, there's like all sorts of pollinating insects, and they all come and check you out and kind of get in your face, except for the mason bees, man. When you see the mason bees, they're always working, man. They're not like there's no rest. It
They
might be
don't.
because they only have a month, but like,
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
thing. They don't have a hive to help each other. They don't have a group effort. It's all one bee, one
Oh,
female bee doing all of the work. The male bee only lives for about a week or two, and its only job is to impregnate the female, and then it dies. And then the female does everything else.
oh wow.
Yeah, and that's why they won't actually sting you very often because if they sting you, well, that lifeline is dead. If a bee from a colony stings you, well, that's just one of 10,000 bees dead. So mason bees are much less likely to sting you because if they die, that their larva is not going to ever get a chance to live, unlike honeybees.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they're very friendly. I just don't crush them, I guess. Don't put them in your hand and kind of like crush
yeah.
them. But
Yeah.
otherwise, they'll never ever. If you're close to their hive, they won't bother you. They don't care. They're like Ryu Lincoln said. They're so busy what they're doing. They don't want you to get in their way. They're like, "Can you please move so I can get to my hive easier?" That's all they care about.
They'll push bees that are pollinating. They'll push their way past that bee. So like to get in, like, yeah, just shut them out of the way. They cut in line.
Yeah, they land on them. We've noticed the carpenter, the bumblebees, the mason bees will land on them in midair and drag them away and harass them.
Yeah.
That's good because the carpenter bees are bad and they eat holes and wood. So you have like a deck, they'll eat holes through your support beams and stuff. So it's kind of good. By having these mason bees are pushing out the less useful bees.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, maybe how did you guys originally meet each other? Like you said that you guys met through you took class with Ryu, I guess, solo
Yeah.
learner.
Yeah, he was a Muay Thai teacher at the time at one of the gyms that I found after I moved to Georgia. I have a previous experience in California doing kickboxing a few years before I left to move to Georgia, and then I just carried on when I got to Georgia. And Ryu was one of those people that was doing classes at the gym, and I did a few classes, and we just kept chatting between drills and when we had any kind of downtime. And over a few months, we eventually got to hang out. And a few months later, I think we went on our first trip out to like the caves or something. We went into like this old cave system in Dahlonega that's from like the gold rush that occurred in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And that was my first exposure to some real adventure. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, those caves can be pretty intimidating sometimes. Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly the noise from topside drops off once you start entering the mouth of the cave. It's really shocking.
Oh yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. Have you guys ever gone like and totally shut off all your lights while you're in the cave?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. He made me do it. He wanted to make sure I knew what it was like.
Yeah, you can't see your hand to pick your nose, man.
I
Yeah.
know. It's pretty intense. Yeah, it's and your mind starts to play some tricks on you too when you're completely in the dark. You start seeing things that don't even exist, stuff like that
Yeah.
sometimes.
You spelunk, right? Making stuff. You used to go down in caves.
Yeah, I did when I was younger. Yeah, I did. Yeah. So it was I never got really into it because I'm kind of a bigger dude, and so I couldn't really squeeze into some of the spots and everything like that. But I did enjoy it when I was in some better shape when I was younger. But yeah, I never got real serious into it because that would have it would have required me getting a bunch of equipment and stuff like that. And I just never got that into it. I did have a buddy that was really into it. He was part of the National Speleological Society and all this stuff. And so, whenever I had an opportunity where he went on a trip or something like that, I would go with him. But yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's you definitely have to be in some pretty good shape, and you have to be able to squeeze through some tight spaces and stuff sometimes.
And not prone to panic, and just realize sometimes you're in a small space and you have to move to get out. You can't just wish it away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I think the last time I went, I kind of got stuck in one area, and that was the last time I went.
Oh damn. Well, are there any near you that you want to go sometime? Maybe like non-scary ones that you can fit in without an issue.
Well, there's Never Sinks, which is one that you have to rappel down into, and it's just a big sinkhole pretty much, and so that might be cool to go do sometime. It's just you just rappel and then you have to climb back out, but it's supposed to be pretty cool. There's people that have gone in there and have taken some neat photography and stuff like that.
We just brought it up online, and we're looking at pictures now. It looks like one of the caves in like Brazil or South America.
Yeah, it's just a giant sinkhole. Yeah.
Wow. So you have to ascend back up, right? There's no elevator or escalator.
No, you have to. Yeah, you have to rope climb back up, and it's pretty tough. But
Yeah,
Man, I'd love to try
down-
and free climb that. I see it like
free climb it.
Yeah.
Jeez. He's always making me like I want to be crazy, but not as crazy as Ray Lincoln. He's on a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably climb to a certain point, but there's like an overhang or something where it kind of makes it impossible. But
Wow.
yeah.
So it's in Fackler, Alabama, huh?
Yeah, that's
Wow. Cool.
that's one of them that would be kind of cool to go check out.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to go down in, but I'd like to take some pictures from topside.
Yeah, and like I said, the headquarters for the National Speleological Society is actually in Huntsville, Alabama. So from time to time they'll organize trips and stuff. So
Cool.
so yeah,
Well,
it's a possibility to go with them sometime.
Well, if Ryu Lincoln wants to go down the hole, I'll give him a camera to take with him.
yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, it's yeah, actually, this area of the country has some of the highest cave density in the U.S. because of all the limestone, and so
Are
yeah,
those hard rock caves for the most part? Are they pretty safe? Is there hard rock?
yeah. I mean, they're all made out, from limestone, and so they're all carved out from limestone because.
Nice.
Because this area is, it was all ocean bottom at one point in time, and so all those are like, the limestone comes from, fossilized seashells and stuff like that. So, so a lot of the caves are all, limestone caves in northern Alabama, but they're all over the place. They're, right around this area actually is has some of the highest. I could name, a few caves that are right around me in this area.
If you ever had a day for us just to go on a road trip and drive around, we'd love that. That would be so thrilling, just to not go into them, but at least go see them, the mouths of the caves and the areas.
Yeah. I'd call up my buddy that does all the caving, and yeah, maybe you could take take you for a tour or something.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be
Yeah.
such a cool trip.
I would.
Yep. Yeah, there's one that's pretty cool that it's called, I think it's called Toluca, or I think it's called
Tallulah?
Toluca
Tallulah
Cave or
Gorge,
something like that.
or whatever.
I think it's called Toluca Cave, but it's like it's one of those where it used to be privately owned, but I think maybe the National Speleological Society runs it now or something. But you used to be able to like pay this guy $5, and it was on his property, and so he would give you access to go inside of it. But it's one of those you can walk through it, and then at one point there's like there's an opening where you go up into it, and it's like this giant hollowed out area, and it's just like a big dome inside, and it's just huge. And
Wow.
yeah, I can't
Very
remember
cool.
can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I remember falling about 20 feet in that cave one time because I missed a handhold on a thing I was climbing up in one part of the cave. It was on some of that what do they call that, soapstone or I can't remember the name what they call it, but yeah, I was trying to climb up this one face of it, and I slipped on my grip, and I ended up falling like 20 feet, but it was just like a tumble, so it wasn't that bad.
Ooh, but in a cave, that's hard fall. It's on rock. Pointy rock sometimes.
Yeah, I was wearing a helmet, so yeah, anytime you go in one of those caves and you're going on your own, I suggest wearing a helmet for sure.
Yeah, good call. Good call. We've never had to do any kind of rope work in the caves. We've always had gradual inclines where we could climb out, and I've never done a vertical cave, so that's beyond my skill. I've done rappelling. We found a great rock face that was it, probably 60 feet up, 50 feet
Yeah,
up?
at least.
Yeah, and we got one of those carabiner setups where you just put tension on the line and you run it through that setup, and you slowly work your way down. So that's my only exposure. I've never done any subterranean descension or ascension yet. It's all been foot based at the moment.
Yeah, and I would I would highly recommend anybody that wants to do that to actually get linked up with the National Speleological Society, or somebody that is that has quite a bit of experience doing that kind of stuff before you go out and try to attempt to do any of that kind of thing. Be with a very experienced guide of some kind.
Oh yeah, the things could go very wrong very quick, and that's what I'm saying. If we could just go see the openings of the caves, I don't really want to go inside until I've done my homework and watched many YouTube videos and made a will out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, anything can go wrong. There's. I remember actually my buddy was out on a hiking trip with a couple of my friends, and there was a rappelling accident of these people over by this Fall Creek Falls area. I think it was actually DeSoto Falls, which is up by Fort Payne, and this one person didn't put their rappelling gear on correctly and ended up falling like I don't know how far they fell, but it was really bad. Maybe something like maybe 60 feet or something like that.
Ooh, that's
and
scary.
yeah, and so they had to get like a helicopter to come in and evac them out of there and medevac them out of there or whatever. So
Right.
yeah, anything can go wrong if you're not, if you haven't been experienced, and it all comes from experience, and even the experienced people can run into some hiccups from here and there. So you really just have to, you have to really know what you're doing, and then you have to be with some people that can double check you, and
Yep. And have a support system. Tell people where you're going. Tell them if you don't hear from me by this time, try to get a hold of me. And I always bring a GPS receiver with me, and I always bring them with brand new batteries. I don't bring rechargeable or old batteries with it. I bring a brand new pack of AA batteries with my GPS unit, and so far we haven't gotten terribly lost. It's worked quite well.
Yeah, that's the key. Is I always tell somebody if you're going out on your own. I mean, I would never tell anybody to go completely out on your own, especially if you're going to go blaze trails and stuff like that. But if you are, definitely make sure you file some kind of trip plan with somebody. Let them know where you're going to be and when you expect to come back, and then yeah, just make sure that you have some people well informed of your plans, because that's how a lot of these people get in trouble, and then they end up having to call rescue teams to come and find them, and all this stuff is and they end up sometimes people end up dying because
Yeah.
they never let anybody know what their plans were. So
Or they didn't plan themselves. They only bring enough water for 1 hour, but when they get stuck in the woods for many hours, they run out of their water. So bring extra stuff with you. Bring a little food. Bring something to keep you warm. It's always better to bring more than not enough, I think.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So water filtration is a big thing, and one that I really like are those gravity water filters. And there's the Platypus makes one called GravWorks, I think, which is a really good one. And then there's a company Sawyer that makes one, and they're supposed to pretty much eliminate all bacteria and viruses coming out of the water. So I don't know if you guys have maybe one that you've used in the past, but those are a couple ones that I like. We actually did a little bit of hiking on the Appalachian Trail going up to Siler's Bald, and we got caught in that scenario because we didn't pack enough water, and we kind of got into a point where, I mean, we didn't have a great water filter per se. We had like one of the pump water filters, and I really don't recommend those. I really like these gravity water filters after we went through this experience. But so anyway, we ended up having to try to boil some water to get our filtered water, because that's all we could do is collect it out of a little stream thing. And that takes a really long time, and especially if you're in an area where it takes a little bit of time anyway. And if you're in an area where it's real windy or something like that, it makes it even harder.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so,
Or rainy. If it's rainy, good luck keeping that fire going.
yeah, exactly. And so we actually got rescued by a fellow backpacker that was staying in our shelter with us that night. And he had one of those GravWorks water filters, and he was able to filter us a bunch of water to replenish us, and then we were good to go. But yeah, those are really great if anybody's
Nice.
going out and looking for one.
I think I'm going to invest in one of those at some point. There's a few investments I think we both want to make. I think Riley Lincoln needs a new tent now.
Yeah,
He needs to get a new one.
definitely.
And I got him paddles for his canoe, so we got some nice paddles to really help us out. But eventually, we want to get like an off-board motor and maybe some solar panels with batteries, and just kind of like open up the gear a little more to give us more expedition mileage. But at the same time, make sure, like you said, have water filtration systems. And I think I have a pump setup, but I don't have one of those gravity setups. That would probably be a good investment on a long trip, especially when you're on the water. It would sure make it easy. You wouldn't have, why bring water with you? You're on the water. Just filtrate it.
Yeah, I would. I'd highly suggest getting one of those, because all you do is you have your dirty bag and then you have your clean bag, and you take your dirty bag, you fill that up with the water that you want to filter, and then you have the little filter that goes in line, and then you just let gravity. You just unhook this little thing, and you let gravity filter it through. And you don't have to worry about the pump failing on you, because that's one of the things that we found out. We used to use those all the time in Boy Scouts, or the pump filters. And, a lot of those times those grommets get worn out inside. Unless you're really making sure that everything's in order before you go camping, sometimes those things can fail on you. So
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. The gravity, it's almost no moving parts. Less moving parts, the less breakage.
Yep. So that's why I really like those, and those are for anybody that's going camping a lot and wants to have the ability to filter your water. I recommend those gravity filters, 100%. So, So yeah, man, equipment makes all the difference a lot of times when you're going camping, and if you got the right equipment, it can make your life more comfortable, or if you don't, it can be miserable. So
Sure is, and we're learning all. Well, I'm learning. Ray Lincoln already knows, and he's made himself comfortable. But I'm finding my comfort versus bringing too much stuff kind of zone right now.
yeah, yeah, that's kind of one of my problems too. Is that like I try to overpack sometimes, and and but a lot of times it's about stuff that's just trying to be more prepared. So yeah, it's a balance for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll learn it over time. I've only had about 10 years of outdoors experience so far. So I'm pretty sure a few years from now, I'll know exactly what I like, what I don't like, and I'll have a better trip planned out when I go somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Ryu, you said you kind of grew up hunting and all that. Was there somebody that got you into doing that, or was this something that you just wanted to do on your own?
It was just something I wanted to do on my own. Like ever since I was a little playing Cowboys and Indians, like
Okay.
both those both those groups hunted their own food and stuff like that, and lived off the land. Um, so when I got into Boy Scouts, that was one of the first things I asked about was hunting and stuff like that. A lot of Boy Scout troops don't take their groups hunting, but ours did. My scoutmaster was a retired Navy man and a
Okay.
very very grizzled outdoorsy type. So I got the opportunities that a lot of other Boy Scout troops didn't get to go out and hunt and stuff like that. And
Oh.
he was not overly nurturing and stuff like that. It was just kind of a matter of fact speaking kind of guy. So I didn't initially start camping wanting to be comfortable.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So he kind of let you guys just kind of go figure it out then.
Yeah. One of the first things he did is when you went camping with the Boy Scout troop, the first thing he did is he'd be like, all right, well, the first camping trip you take with us, it has to be in the summer. And the reason why is because if it's your first time camping with him, he's like, all right, everyone get into bathing suits and we'll go out somewhere and just sit in a field. And so that was so we could get used to like the itchiness of the grass and stuff like that. And a lot of the parents, he'd be like, yeah, you guys too, like just sit down in the grass. Like you feel a little bit of itchiness, that's fine. You don't need to freak out. And the first thing was just to let us know that, it could be a lot worse. There could be a lot, so don't just freak out because there are a few mosquitoes on you.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bathing suits in the grass, huh?
Yeah. Just sitting there. You sit there for about 20 minutes, man. Get all kinds of creepy crawlers on your legs. Like you want to, yeah, man. You want.
That's funny, man. Yeah, we had one of those guys. We had it was all the ex-military dads that especially on the hiking trips, man. They set these paces that were just like killing you. And you're just and they're like, you get your breaks, but you don't get a too long of a break.
Yeah, man. Those ruck marches are rough.
Yeah.
I think at the end of basic training, they send you on a 15-mile ruck march with an 80-pound pack. So,
Wow, that's insane, man. And yeah, but like back in the day, you had all these soldiers that were hiking like, man, I don't know how many miles they covered in days, but they had that and they had all their armor and all that kind of stuff on, man. It's just like, man, those people were really tough people.
Yeah.
And at any point, they could be attacked. We're hiking. We're not worried about being shot at.
Yeah.
They're like bandits and stuff like that. And
Yeah. So it's just like, we kind of think that we have some things hard nowadays, but man, the people back in that day were just like really tough people.
They sure were. It's technology and electricity has made things a lot easier for us.
Yeah. Well,
And machinery.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, we're kind of coming into the age where things are a lot more decentralized, and I know that you've been working in that direction pretty hard, Solo Miner. You got your own IPFS gateway going for these videos I saw, and that really helps you host those videos really nicely.
Yeah, what I love is I have my own URL to all my videos. Usually, if you want to send someone a video on DTube, you have to send the DTube link, and it's not like the actual video. It's just going to bring it up on their platform. So I can now copy that to other platforms like PublishX or Uptrend or any other social media platform, and I can make a post about it on another platform without like just taking the DTube link and making it look like it's really obvious that it's a DTube video, which I don't think people care about, but at least it really looks like my content and not just content I'm putting up on some other service.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And one other thing that's really great is DTube charges, I think, 15% for beneficiaries when you post on there.
Yeah.
So if you get that DTube upvote, which is worth anywhere from like $6 to $15, they're going to take 15% of that from you.
Okay.
But by me running my own node, I can dictate the amount I want to give to them. I could give them 0. I can take the full amount and get 15% more of my funds to me. But I don't. I take about 2%, I think it is. Because I just think 10 to 15% is a little too high, especially if I'm hosting my own content. Why should I be paying that?
Yeah.
So it's another great feature. You get to name the percentage you give back to the DTube network by having your own network.
That's pretty cool. You ever thought about running maybe an online tutorial about how to set one of those up?
It would have a lot of steps. It took me about 6 hours to build the first time. The second time took me about 3. Yeah. And I've written up guides, but they change so quickly. Like as new versions come out, the links I would provide in my guide would no longer be relevant. So yeah, it's not a quick build. There's a lot of moving parts to this IPFS server. And a lot of that's what I've added on. It's not what it first came with. Like the gateway where I can give someone an external link, that wasn't part of the original build. It had to be enabled and configured. And then past that, just monitoring my servers, I've rolled more stuff into that so I can have graphs of people on a map. I can see what IPs connect to my videos and even my pictures. I can see a graphical map of where I'm getting the most coverage when people click on my links. And you can't do that with hosting images. You can't get that kind of data. And that's what I love about my servers. I get a lot of data on my followers.
Wow. So do you think, some of these services might be, as time rolls on here, more of these will become more like open to the non-tax savvy person? You think services will pop up to, set people up with these things in a more user-friendly way, I guess?
Yes, there's systems called Docker, which is a way to containerize applications. And I can send someone a pre-wrapped application with everything needed just to basically be a one-click install.
Oh, wow.
But the problem is, as things update, I'd have to update that script constantly. So it would work for the moment, but as soon as there's new versions out, things might not work and it might not be one click anymore. And then I'm going to be the person asked to support that script, which I don't really want to have to do. So it becomes kind of a thing where, yes, you can write these things to be automated, but they're going to break as new versions and links become expired. So the things that the script would point to would eventually crash and not work. And I don't know if I have the time to upkeep that. So I can tell someone how to build it step by step, but to ask me to write a script, it would work short term, but eventually it would start acting funny.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it almost needs to become a business where you're making some profits that you could get some more people on board that you could hire to keep it maintained and things like that.
Yeah. Well, OneLift is already doing that. You can go on their Discord right now and pay $10 a month and have your content hosted on a server just like mine. It's not my server. I basically forked their server, which is like copying their code and making changes to it.
Yeah.
But they have a collection of nodes. I don't know how many, but more than one. and you can pay to have your content on there. And then it's going to load much better on DTube, because not only it's on DTube's core servers, it's also now on One Love DTube servers. So a lot of times you can't connect to things with DTube. This would solve it by having your data backed up on a premium service.
Yeah. So that was actually, I got involved with those guys with Graylin, and he actually helped me set up one of those nodes. And so yeah, I guess I'm running a node, not a server.
They're kind of interchangeable. You're just not running a service for him. It sounds like you're running a copy, kind of like me.
Yeah.
But it was probably an exact copy. I've kind of changed things on my setup since they've helped me. Yeah. So that's why I call mine more of a fork, because I kind of took their setup and I adapted it to my needs. But they set you up with a DTube IPFS server for sure. I saw you on our community support list, and when I pinned a video once, I think your name came up and it said it pinned successfully to your server. So I remember that. Yeah.
So yeah, it's all new stuff, but I think that it's really important now that we've got all this censorship going on the main platforms, and
God,
I know, yeah, it's just ridiculous now that there's this pretty much complete clampdown on any speech that isn't approved by the overlords at these businesses now. So it's becoming more and more important to have these decentralized platforms, because, well, I mean, freedom of speech is so important for society, in my opinion, because it actually helps you. It helps the truth get out there, and it helps us regulate as a society, in my opinion.
Yeah, having your own servers to own your own content on powerful than uploading your content to a publisher like YouTube. Not even comparing it to a platform like Steam or DTube. I mean, you could it's kind of like the comparison of having your money in the bank versus having your actual money on you. It's your money or it's your content either way, but they could revoke it or block access to it at any time. And I think crypto and decentralization of content in general, not just transactions, is a great future, especially if YouTube and Twitter and Facebook continue to tighten the screws on censorship. I think there's going to be a mass exodus leaving their platforms.
I agree, and I think that everybody that is starting to, I think we talked about this earlier, is that if you're earning cryptocurrency right now, you're ahead of the game, and maybe there will be some nefarious purposes for cryptocurrencies that could be used for control, but I do see them as a gateway right now, if we use them correctly, as a way to have privacy and decentralization, and take back currency and money from people that have centralized control over it.
Definitely, but it requires people to act, and it's kind of like I'm saying, like I had these servers, but it requires upkeep. It requires you to update every few weeks, or when it crashes, you have to restart it. And most people just want a turnkey solution, and that's where you basically have to pay someone else to do it for you at that point if you want to be decentralized, because keeping up with it, just like a master node or any other node, there's always what are called 0-day attacks, where we instantly found out there's an exploit and people on the internet are taking advantage of it, and you have to update your servers right away, or you could risk what you have on that server.
Yeah. It's definitely a whole new complicated realm in that regard, and so yeah, it's good to have. Right now, I think it's good to build these networks between people that are very like-minded, that have these different skill sets, and so yeah, you are definitely on the top of my list for people that understand how all this decentralization works and everything like that. So.
Well, luckily, I have a background in computer science. I was working with computers as a child. I was playing with them up until my teens, and then I tried to start 2 businesses building computers. So like pretty much my entire adult life has been either running a company or working for a company of computers, or like I'm going back to it now, trying to start up another company, trying to build up my things with computers, being running master nodes, doing social media full time, always looking for the next altcoin to invest in, or just hodl Bitcoin. I mean, those are all kind of businesses. Honestly, they're investments.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ryu, have you got into any of these cryptocurrencies and stuff other than Steam with Solo Miner?
I have invested in some other cryptocurrencies, but I'm not actively mining or uh,
Yeah,
my my knowledge of technology is very limited. It's just basically things I hear other people repeat, and I can say them back and sound smart. Yeah.
yeah,
He has some Ethereum tokens. I helped him get a diversification of a bunch of the altcoins from the top 100 that we thought had the most use cases in the future. But unfortunately, the bottom kind of fell out of the altcoin market. All the coins that me and him invested in are really kick ass. They should do good. Like Quantum, Qtum. I mean, they're building satellites in space right now to build a mesh network. You have Komodo, which is basically a new way to do atomic swaps on the internet. There's so many cool altcoins out there, but the bottom's fallen out, so everyone thinks they're dead, but they're not dead. Every single one we invested in is just kind of quiet until the next bull run.
yeah. So maybe you could explain a little bit of what atomic swaps are. That means that you could take any altcoin or anything and trade it for another one instantly or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically two blockchains interacting with each other to mark each coin on each other's platform as null and void. So you basically would say, I'm locking in this transaction on this blockchain for another coin on another. So you get an even trade and you do a swap, so to say. And you get a kind for kind trade at the time. I would say based on the value. I'm not. I've actually never done an atomic swap, but I support the technology that does because it allows you to now not rely on exchanges. If you have
Yeah,
coins that natively support you to exchange one for the other, you don't even need a DEX, let alone a centralized exchange. A DEX is a decentralized exchange, but
yeah,
atomic swaps, I think, I may be wrong, but I don't even think you need to make use of a DEX. I think you could either do it on the client of the coin or through some other way. But atomic swaps are a great way to kind of get around centralized exchanges.
wow. Well, I mean, yeah, that's when do you think that technology will kind of arise there?
Oh, Litecoin's already done it. They've already had a successful atomic swap with Vertcoin, I think.
Oh,
So it already works. It's just kind of like we haven't seen a major issues with exchanges yet. I mean, if you look in 2017 when Bitcoin was at 20,000, we had major exchange problems then.
yeah,
Coinbase was shutting down any new signups. So unless you were already in the system, they weren't going to take your orders at that point. So many centralized exchanges were getting hammered. But back then, DEXs were just barely coming out, and atomic swaps, I don't even think occurred yet. They might have, but they were really, really fresh at the time. So I'd say the next major bull run, and when the exchanges again get clogged up, that's when it says, okay, well now we can just get around the exchanges. We can just do atomic swaps and use DEXs like Crypto Bridge or many others like iDEX and there's even Ethereum based ones, and then you have BitShares based ones, which is the crypto bridge. And then you even have them on Steam, which is a Steam engine. We have our own DEX there as well. So we have a lot of things we didn't have in 2017 when we had that bull run. We were stuck on centralized exchanges. And this time around, we have atomic swaps, we have DEXs, and we have a lot more to work with, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Which kind of is pretty interesting. That recently I heard that Tron was acquiring Steam or something like that. Have you heard about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I've heard rumors about it. There's so many rumors of Tron.
Yeah,
Like every time Justin Sun comes out and says something, I take it with a grain of salt because it almost never seems to manifest. But if you look at Tron as an altcoin, it has a lot of transactions. They have dApps. But whenever they do a press release, I'm really hesitant until I can actually see some skin in the game with them.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Justin Sun, he's all about hyping stuff up.
Okay.
Or it would seem, allegedly. I don't know the guy, but every time I see a post, it seems just a very hype kind of feel, and it doesn't seem like things always pan out to what he suggests.
Yeah. So, it's a very exciting time to be involved in this space, and yeah, I'm very hopeful to, kind of see how things evolve in here and be involved with it, because it is a really good way. Like as soon as you're able to, be able to send somebody in a payment with Bitcoin or something like that, you realize how powerful it is. It's like, it's like having complete control over your bank account and not having to have that middleman as a bank.
Yeah,
and it's
or dealing with their holiday days. Like if you can't send money on Christmas, like I can send money any day of the week on crypto. I can send it 3 a.m. I can send it on Christmas, on New Year's, on Easter, whatever. But it's funny how bank servers supposedly shut down for the holidays. Last I checked, servers don't have to rest. That's pretty silly.
Yeah, and don't they still use like a really antiquated thing? Like, don't they still use some kind of MS DOS or something to run their transactions, like Telex or something like that?
Oh my God, yeah. When I bought some Bitcoin many years ago on an exchange, I had to do a wire transfer. And you have to put a bunch of details in the description of the wire transfer. So when it goes from bank to bank to bank, it knows where to go. And we ran out of characters in that message. They would only allow you to have like 60 characters in that message for the wire transfer. So we were having to abbreviate and take letters out. It was so embarrassing.
Wow.
And I was just like, there has to be a better way. And then the money, it had to get to China. That's where the exchange was. And it took 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Like, Bitcoin takes 24 hours if it's really clogged. It takes 8 hours on a good day. And if you want to be really fast or pay a lot of miner fees, it's only a few hours. But it's not 2 weeks.
2 weeks, wow.
Yeah, so it's just really, as soon as I did that wire transfer, it really made me appreciate cryptocurrency, because not only there's no bank holidays, there's no of this antiquated messages you have to leave in the header and hope your funds get there. You send it to the address, it's going to go there unless the miners don't accept the transaction. If you don't pay enough in the transaction, it might not get there. But if you don't leave the right message, and it was really silly. And using Swift, which is how you send the money across the country, it's just something from the 50s and 60s, I think, that has really rarely been upgraded.
Wow. Yeah. So my brother works in this industry right now for I think for BBVA bank, and I hear about some of the things that they're working on. They're actually doing some stuff with AI and stuff right now, and I think they are starting to integrate some things with blockchain. I think that was something that he was talking about recently, but yeah, they're way behind.
They need to. I mean, you look at SQL servers and other types of column and data-driven tables. That's not a ledger like blockchain. They're all susceptible to SQL injection attacks and other types of attacks just by entering what's called like column data, and you can basically like make it run in a loop until it crashes or it spits out the wrong info, sometimes being passwords of people's users. But it's funny, we don't have these problems with blockchain. These are things that exist with old networks that have just been patched over the last 30 years. I'm talking about SQL, Microsoft SQL Server. And the blockchain doesn't have these issues. So I hope we get off of it. I hope the banks see those things as extreme threats, that they're on old, antiquated technology. And you look at Equifax. You remember the Equifax hack?
Yeah, where they stole a lot of people's personal information and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was done using a SQL injection. So like if they were on blockchain, they couldn't have done that.
Wow.
So like, and you can't stop it. Like it's part of the design of the language of SQL to have those types of exploits available. You can't close them all off, or the system won't work correctly. So it's just really scary that our financial system runs on these systems that have known exploits, and we're not willing to get off of them because it's going to cost too much money. And it's going to cut into the shareholders' profits.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just another way to, or another reason to actually figure out if, yeah. Well, I only keep enough in my bank account to pay bills and things like that I need to pay, and the rest of it I keep out in other means. Either with cryptocurrencies or precious metals or things like that, and that way I'm more in control of them.
You could bury it into mason jars.
Bury it, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Too bad that cash becomes worth less and less every year, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem with the cash, and that's why I think precious metals are better. I think it's good to maybe hold a little bit in cash, but then, yeah, if you got any extra money to, think about getting invested into like, some precious metals or cryptos.
Right. I got myself some platinum. That's an interesting metal. It's supposedly more rare than gold.
Oh, wow.
But supposedly the price is lower on platinum, but they experts say that it should be twice the price as gold because it's supposedly twice as rare coming out of the ground.
Yeah, you know what? I got a friend that's similar minded, and he's been buying. I think platinum is one of the ones that he buys too, and he buys them as the rounds, the rounds that they make.
1 ounce, yeah, 1 ounce rounds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they also make a silver or platinum eagle coin, and it has a face value of like $100.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's because besides that, like the gold buffalo head has a face value of $50, but the platinum eagle has a face value of $100, which makes you think the mint thinks in the future they might be worth more. So they kind of made the platinum coin $100 when they only made the gold coin $50 face value.
Yeah. Well, it's this is kind of one of the things that I bring up a lot in the show is that people say you're not going to be able to eat gold when the shit hits the fan, or eat silver or any of these things, and well, that's correct, but you can't look at it in my view. You got to look at it as a way of making large purchases or something like that. If the asset prices get depressed a lot and there's no liquidity in the market, then people are going to start looking for something with value or that holds value.
And Amazon.com might not be around at that point, but when a tornado hits your house and you need to rebuild it, you might need to give someone a few gold to rebuild it. What else are you going to give them? You're going to give them 20,000 potatoes to help them rebuild your house? So yeah, I agree. Holding gold and silver, it's the same thing that rings true. Is say you need to make a small purchase of only $30. How are you going to give them, if you have a gold coin, how are you going to make a trade of value? You need to have a bunch of silver. And that's what they've done in the medieval days. You have a bunch of silver and a few gold, and that's your coin purse.
Yep. So, yeah, and then in the Old West, they used to. That's why they call a shot is because you'd pay for the shot with a bullet. So
yeah, because a bullet was worth 15 cents, and that was the price of a shot of whiskey.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
You exchange it out for a bullet.
Yep. So. All those things, anything that could be, useful is, you can consider that currency, really.
Yeah, it's funny how they've outlawed exchanging bullets for exchange of currency in some states, because it sounds like people were starting to have a barter system exchanging bullets for money or goods.
Oh, really? That's a thing. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I think it was like Washington or Oregon. It was one of those state laws where you cannot use ammo as a currency.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's happened over time. As ammo is extremely valuable. Use it as for protection or for sustenance for hunting things. Ammo is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if you guys heard recently about the whole issue with this guy making the statement that they're going to send the National Guard in to enforce red flag laws in Virginia. But that's got a lot of the people stirred up about in militia groups and things like that getting vamped up right now. And
Minutemen.
yeah, yeah. And so I don't know if you guys heard about that at all.
Yeah, I've heard about it. Well, if they push too hard and take away too much of people's stuff, they'll have nothing left and they'll turn to the streets.
Yeah. Yep.
But
And
they're hoping to get the guns before then. I see what their plan is.
Why would you try to start doing that in the South? Taking guns. I don't know what other people know about the South. I know most traveling. I know that most of the nation, they have that Family Guy view of the South. The way Family Guy portrays the South, that's exactly what they think. So, why would you come down and try to take guns from us first? Less accommodating to outsiders.
Maybe they can do it. If they can do it here, they can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be part of the mentality. Yeah.
Right now, there are private state militias like the Minutemen that are actually getting ready to mobilize their members to go to Virginia armed to help protect the Second Amendment.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
which is probably why they haven't done it yet. This is the beginning. It's not the beginning, but this could mark, I guess, the spark that ignites another civil war. Maybe not civil war per se, but a standoff between the government and its people. Because if you're bashing in doors to take away items that are used to protect yourself from the government, that's
or others that trying to loot you.
Yeah, that's
when there's national disasters, other people are trying to break into your house because they think it's empty. So if you don't have a gun to protect yourself, you're just another victim.
Yeah, and the only people that are going to have them are the bad guys now.
Right, exactly. We've learned that in every city. It's funny how they think gun control is going to work in the South. We've seen it in every, New York and Chicago or LA. Anywhere there's strict gun laws, it just means the criminals or the people that don't follow the laws have them.
And there's more murder, and there's more law enforcement in those cities.
Yeah,
so more law enforcement and less guns is not the answer.
Yeah, and so one of the guys that I met when I went to this conference in Arkadelphia, he had a really good idea. He said, instead of protesting on the streets and all that and doing that, it's like you should look up every congressman and congresswoman's address, and then everybody just make a barricade around their houses so that they can never go into the halls of Congress and start making, these laws and crap, and just make them pretty much put them under siege, essentially.
Yeah. And since news cameras are going to be there, stand in their driveway, you're going to run over kids. They crucify you on the TV for that.
Yeah. Yeah, so what he said there was really, was like, well, duh, why aren't we doing that? And so,
because you could get in trouble, and getting in trouble means that you are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because, I've been arrested a few times, and man, those jail cells, they're meant to make you miserable.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, man, and well, I ran across this one meme recently, and it rang so true. And it's just it said, just a few more laws and you'll be completely safe. And it just, and it showed, the inside of a prison in the background. So yeah, it's I think Benjamin Franklin said that, those who sacrifice freedom for security deserve neither. And,
true.
Yeah, and so we're coming up on the apex or the zenith of that right now.
Well, that's why I like to practice my outdoorsman skills, just in case that cities are no longer safe. I'm not so shocked when I have to spend a few nights out in the woods.
Yeah, and Well, a lot of people I've talked to say that, well, the goose is cooked for this society, essentially. I mean,
if you look at how much debt we have and all the other issues, I don't see how it's recoverable.
so if you're not preparing in some way, you're you're either lying to yourself or you're not seeing the writing on the wall, or you're just like staying in la la land. I think.
You're just like, oh, things will turn out better, or things will just get better if I just don't do anything. Just kind of the stagnant mentality.
That didn't work in Katrina in Louisiana.
Like,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, and Go ahead.
All right. No, I totally. That was me forgetting what I was gonna say. That yeah, man, that was my mind. That was my brain audibly farting.
Well, that was we talked about this in my last podcast episode with Robbie, and I kind of talked about this, and kind of one of maybe the ultimate goal behind actually getting these red flag laws stirred up and actually getting these militia groups to maybe fight with the National Guard, and then actually split up the National Guard, because there are going to be some guys in the National Guard that aren't going to want to fight, their brothers and everything. Yeah. And then that makes an opportunity to call in like international troops or something to squelch the fighting or something. And then, so anyway, there's some kind of bigger plan going on here, and it's good to be aware and to be prepared, I think. And
it'll be like Vietnam 2.0, but this time it'll be in the Appalachians. And it's going to be terrible. The technology's not going to help. The woods are too thick. The terrain is too varied. I'm telling you, if war comes to the south, it's going to be like when Germany went into Russia. They're just going to really regret it.
Yeah, and a lot of people say that what are you going to do against Panzer tank or tanks and all this crap, and there was there's like one meme where it was like this one Russian sniper, I think they call him, I can't remember what his name was, but it was some in Siberia somewhere or something like that. This guy killed like,
he only used iron sights. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
yeah, he used iron sights, and he picked off like 100 soldiers or something like that on his own.
Yeah, well, when the roads are impassable, those tanks aren't doing any good. When they're just mud traps and all they do is get stuck, then they're just basically stuck and not moving and going to be ready to be attacked.
Yeah. And American-made gear, like, I don't know if anyone knows this, but like the M16s, like what the AR-15s are modeled after, like Mattel used to make those.
Oh yeah.
And like they used the same plastic that they used to make Nerf guns, because they made them the cheapest. Whenever someone says military grade to me, like, that really doesn't mean shit, because either you put way too much money into it and it's not as badass as you think, or it's something that was the most cheaply made material. Like, when I was in the Army, my boots would fall apart, the soles would come off, my uniform, the seams would come off. Military grade doesn't mean good quality. So even with our vehicles and stuff like that, there are joints and stuff like that and bolts. One wrong move, like a stick in the wrong gear inside a tank tread, will demolish and completely break it down. And it's simply because, in the American military, we cut corners. If you want to compare, the U.S. military grade against others, look at, again, the M16 versus the AK-47.
Yeah.
They're two completely, different standards.
The tolerances between the guns are amazing. One has to be very clean all the time. The other can be almost in any circumstance.
If I dropped an M16 on the ground and some of my buddies actually stepped on it,
could jam on you.
Yeah, I'd take it apart and completely clean it just to make sure. But if I dropped my AK-47 in the dirt and then mud got into it, and then someone accidentally dropped it down a hill,
you'd have no problem.
I wouldn't second guess it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's interesting. Now I don't know if you guys are familiar with Cody Wilson or
Oh yeah.
yeah. So his new version of the Ghost Gunner just came out, and it's the Ghost Gunner 3, and supposedly going to have the ability to machine the AK-47 with that machine. So yeah,
Wow.
that's going
3D
to be cool.
printers, man. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like a benchtop CNC mill, and yeah. So I don't know what I guess it'll be able to do like certain components for the AK-47, and you'll be able to assemble one on
That's
your own.
really cool. And you can also make concealable knives with 3D printers because they're made of polymer.
Yeah.
So you can make these knives, and they're actually illegal to buy in many places. In New York and a few other places, having non-metallic knives is considered evasion of like metal detectors. But you can make them with a 3D printer.
Wow. Yeah.
But I think that's ridiculous because I know a lot of guys that make daggers out of the horns and antlers
Uh-huh.
of their rut. So like that's non-detectable too. Like
Right.
Yeah, it's just them trying to cover up a weak law that really has no point to be
Yeah.
there in the first place.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, I pretty much okay. So those are the two states that you can't buy a Ghost Gunner. Actually, is New York and New Jersey.
There you go. Wouldn't be
So
surprised if California joins that group eventually.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I had a buddy that worked up in New York for quite a while, and he couldn't wait to get out of there. But he was raised in Alabama, so he was like pretty much getting fed up with everything they're doing up there.
like I know about a third of my non-white friends that, or just people I knew that lived in New York, have
Yeah.
moved out of New York because it's now it's been legal for a bit to randomly search and seizure, or search and seize. So
Stop and
if you're
frisk.
so if you're walking down the street, a cop can just get out of his car and frisk you and like take your property in New York. And like so,
Man.
one of my buddies, he's just like for 3 months he got stopped and felt up by like 4 or 5 cops every single fucking day. Like, I've never lived in New York, and if I was a law-abiding citizen and minority and I didn't hate cops, like after that happened for about 2 months, I'd fucking hate cops after that.
Yeah.
Like they just come up and they and like they're disrespectful. I don't know if anyone's ever been searched by the police, but they don't just put your shit together. Like they
No.
break it, they destroy it.
Yeah.
Like
They leave
Yeah.
all your stuff thrown
Yeah,
about in your
I've,
cars. They don't put stuff back. They just leave your car like a bear came through it.
yeah, and they break things. They'll pocket change, like, and they'll just be like, "So what? You're breaking the law," or we think that we need to take it.
You
Like
should
my
never
buddy, he's just
consent.
like cops started taking like they take his wallet and look through it. They'd make him take his shoes off. They'd take off his belt, make him flip out his pockets, make him take his shirt off. Like these are things that police do to a lawyer.
Yeah.
And he can't do anything because they're not breaking any law. They're not, because the stop and frisk it's perfectly legal. Like it's written so that you can do this. So if you decided to target a judge, target a lawyer that's helping people that the cops just happen to not like, they can stand in front. A cop can sit in front of your house and frisk you every single fucking day, just because he feels like it. Can go through your property. Like what the hell kind of power is that, man? Like that's the same thing with this whole like if you're charged with animal cruelty, that makes you a felon immediately. What the hell? Like being a felon, you're no longer a human being. You can't vote. You don't. They don't need probable cause to enter your home or your vehicle. You again, like you can't vote. You can't change any laws. You have no public opinion. You can't have a firearm. I think if you're in a home where people do have firearms, you're not even allowed to be in the same room or something ridiculous like that. So what's going to happen that if these cops start driving around and they target parties? So if they go inside your house and you're having a party and upstairs your dog is in your room or your cat is in the bathroom, well, they're about to charge every single fucking person in that party with animal cruelty. Boom, that's 30 new felons. And there's like, what is that? And now if you're having a barbecue and they're driving through a minority neighborhood and they're like, oh, well, we just want to make sure that your dog's okay. There's no warning, no search warrant, no nothing. Just walk into your back room to make sure you're not kicking a dog. But then
whatever they find in
but whatever they find, they're just gonna fucking take. Or they're gonna be like, oh, like you got kids here? Well, now I'm gonna have to search the rest of the house to make sure that the kids aren't hitting that dog. You gotta make sure that they're not being mean to the dog when all the adults are here.
Yeah,
like that's
a fundamental problem with government itself, is because every new every freedom that they take away is more power for government and through its arms of control. And a lot of these police officers they have no accountability. There's no way that you can fire a police department if they're not doing things properly, and they get bailed out by the taxpayer and
they're encouraged to lie and to cover up for each other.
Right.
That's like a policy in the police system. And also, if there's a superior officer in the field, if you question their authority, like if a sergeant comes out and they're beating the shit out of a pregnant lady, and someone who doesn't outrank the sergeant's like, hold on, what are you doing? And tries to stop the sergeant, they can get fired and be sent to jail and be charged with, and by then they're a civilian, and then they get charged with assaulting a police officer. Like, that's the kind of shit that's put into place so that actual good cops, or actual people who would be good cops and who would stop all that abuse, there are things that are put in place to stop them, in order to give power to the people who shouldn't.
Just protects the police department themselves and not the bad actors inside.
Right. And so, I think it would be better to actually have, if you really want some security force, to actually have some kind of a pool to hire some kind of private security force or something like that for your neighborhood or whatever. Otherwise, just have some kind of neighborhood watch or something. Yeah. Because, the law enforcement is almost, these people are above the law many times, and they are never held accountable for when they do real harm to people. So I just think it's just the idea that one man has an authority over another man is the issue. And many times that power is abused.
Making stuff, I need to step away for 1 minute, but Ryu Lincoln will be here, so just give me 1 minute and I'll be right back.
All right, well, we're coming up on the end of the 2 hour window here, okay. So I was just gonna.
Oh damn, that's that went by fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
For wrapping it up, I'll hang around. I needed to check on something in the next few minutes, so for wrapping up, that works.
Yeah. So I just want to leave you guys with the last word, and wherever people can find you guys. I know you just find Solo Miner on his blog on Steemit, and then Ryu also you have your blog on Steemit as well, right? That you're gonna start kind of working on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's we had a great time at your property making stuff. We're looking forward to going back there, and I really want to go up north on that river system and see what's up there. I've been staring at it during this whole call, and I just want to get back there.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys are welcome back anytime, and it was a pleasure getting to host you guys, and
Yeah, hopefully you'll join us when we go down there, and you can check out the river system at the bottom. I know the weather is just way too crappy when we went out there, but we're hoping you join us along on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time out to come on and chat with me today, and I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll catch you soon.
Sounds good, making stuff.
Yeah, you too, man.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you later.
All right, see ya.
All right, have a good one.